Not to slugma. Hello everybody, in today's video I will be using a Shuppet to beat Pokemon Emerald. Shuppet is an often forgotten Pokemon from Gen 3. Its stats, typing and move pool are kinda average, so I can understand why nobody remembers it. The only thing going for it is the creepiness factor, but since most ghost types are kinda creepy, that too does not make it special. The rules are always the same, so I can only use my starter in combat, I can't use any items from my bag in battle, I can't raise my evasion in any way, and I can't use cheats or glitches. At the start of the game, Shuppet only knows knockoff. That's not great. In this generation it is special but does make contact, and it only has 20 base power. But at the very least I can hit both normal and dark types, so I won't have to worry about struggle. May takes a good number of turns to defeat, but since I am ghost type, she can't hit me with pound, so that was easy. The same can be said for the grunt in the forest. His Poochyena could be scary if it knew bite, but thankfully that's not the case yet. The worst it can do is slow me down by using a bunch of sand attacks. Once we cleared the path to the first gym, we can take on Roxanne. She is a bit scary because for the first major fight in the game, her Pokémons can hit me with rock moves, and they hurt quite a bit considering my very poor defense. Maybe choosing a better nature could have been a smart choice, but it's a bit too late for that. Fortunately, her ace has a lot of brain fog and never uses Rock Tomb on me, so that was a free win. After collecting the first badge of the game, I took care of a couple of quests around town and then challenged May just before leaving. This time her team has a few more moves to hit me with, but most of them are not that dangerous except for Supersonic. Confusion will be a big problem in this run, considering my low defense and decent attack. After defeating my rival for the second time, we can make our way to the next island, where I am free to attempt the second gym. This fight, as you might remember from the Gengar video, is unlosable if you are playing with a ghost type, because all of his attacks are fighting type, so his punches will pass right through us. This fight takes a long time to clear because I don't have any great moves. The best I can do is a Nightshade for a fixed amount of damage, and even if Shuppet is a part of the fast growth rate, the level is still somewhat low. After getting through all of his super potions, his Pokémons can't heal anymore and are finally defeated. With 2 gym badges in my pocket, I was feeling very confident going into the next fight against the Team Aqua grunts in the museum, because you know, they are only 2 grunts with dark types that know bite. Not going to lie, after seeing the first bite damage, I was sure I was going to lose against them. Yeah, losing half of my HP to Carvana was not a good omen for things to come. Fortunately, the second Carvana is not in the mood to finish me off, and with a few more nightshades I can get through the grunts without having to reset. After getting a reality check from those guys, I started being worried about the next fight with May. Her team is kinda strong for this point in the game, and her Grovile knows Pursuit, so that is going to be painful. Nightshade, it's just enough to two-shot, making it possible for me to defeat her starter. But then, Slagma of all things almost ends the attempt. From here I take some time to grind against the trainers in and around Mobile and even buy the Psychic TM. Unfortunately, Shuppet can't learn Flamethrower or Ice Beam, and Thunderbolt is resisted by Watson, so this was my best option. He was not very easy. As usual, Magneton always paralyzes me, and that allows his ace to finish me off. In the second attempt, I got a bit more lucky and just had enough time to defeat all of his Pokémons before going down myself too. I am a bit surprised I could defeat him with only one loss, but I'm not going to complain. Next, after some exploration of the region, it's the fight against the Team Magma leader. Maxi was kinda scary. His Mightyena in particular knows Bite, and with Stab it's going to hurt a lot. But thanks to my power and speed, he does not have the time to use it. Camerupt is a bit more resilient, so it takes me a few more turns to defeat, but eventually he goes down too. With that, we have opened the path to the next gym leader. Flannery was able to one-shot me with an overhit in the sun, so that was scary. Other than that, her team is not too dangerous. I only had to attempt her until I got semi-decent RNG. Camerupt even tries the infatuation tactics. I always forget she can do that. This time, with no sun, I survive overhit and can finish off her ace with a second hit the next turn. Now that we have half of the badges in the region, we are worthy to challenge our dad. Or not, his Pokémons are very dangerous with feint attack, so I lost a few times until I left, leveled up a bit, and came back at an even level 50. This seems to have broken his AI a bit, because Slacking went for a yawn instead of attacking me. That would be a smart move, if only I was not immune to all of Linoon's attack, and also I was not immune to sleep thanks to my ability. Surprising how a couple of levels can turn one of the hardest fights in the game into one of the easiest. I even ran out of psychics midway through, but since Linoon can't touch me, it was not a problem. Now that we can use Surf, there are a lot of trainers with a bunch of juicy XP for us to collect until I reached the Weather Institute, where the Team Aqua is holding some people hostages. Like the national hero we are, I quickly took care of the leader. I mean, she only has 2 Pokémons, both of whom are a one-shot, and after rescuing those guys, I can resume my journey to 4-3, only to be rudely interrupted again 5 seconds later, when May wants another challenge. Now that my moveset is decent, I can blast my way through her team, one-shotting everything she throws out of the Pokeballs. The next fight is against the flying gym leader Winona. Her team is not too dangerous, but I have to be careful. One misclick could be fatal because of a perish song, or a sand attack, or confuse ray. Fortunately, this time I had my coffee before playing, so I was able to not be my worst enemy and paid attention to what I was doing. Most of her team is a one-shot. The only thing that survives is Altaria. It has a lot of special defense, so I tried using Shadow Ball, but she lived that too. It took a few turns of healing before Winona ran out of potions, and I was able to defeat her. Next, I quickly stopped by the old lady to grab the Team Magma emblem so I can access the Team Magma's hideout and face Maxi again, just after he wakes up the ground legendary. At this point, his team does not worry me. I can remove my Tiena with Thunderbolt, and the rest of the team is not a big deal, except that I misclicked against Camerapt, so it uses Amnesia, so my next special move does no damage. But fortunately I have a Shadow Ball that is physical, so ultimately that was not a problem. I almost forgot about the last fight against May, but caught a glimpse of her in the corner as I was rushing to the Team Aqua base. The fight against her is not particularly interesting. She improved her team a little bit since we last met, but nowhere near enough to be able to stand up to us. Again, most of her team is a one-shot with different moves, so after a few turns I can leave with some more free XP. Next is the second Team Aqua General. His team is extremely bad for this point in the game and extremely weak to Thunderbolt, so that's taken care of too. Our next stop is the twins. Tate and Liza are a bit scary because they are still a 2v1 fight and I can't take many hits, but at least on the offensive side I am in a great spot with Stab Shadow Ball. It should be able to one-shot everything on their team except maybe Claydol. As you can see, I am taking lots of damage. My hope here is that Solrock will use Sunny Day, giving me one free turn, and that's exactly what happens. Thanks to that small break in attacks, I am able to survive and defeat the rest of their team without having to reset even once. Next is the double fight with Steven. This one should be easier. I'm not sure why they are so not aggressive. I don't know how to explain it. I feel like in this fight the enemies and Steven too prefer to use setup or status moves a lot more than they like to do damage. That works great for me since today I am using a squishy Pokemon. Both of their Camerapts use Amnesia to raise their special defense, so I am forced to switch to Shadow Ball, but I'm not complaining since it's the strongest move in my arsenal. With a few more hits from me and Steven, the rest of their Pokémons fall too. Once we have defeated them, Steven rewards us with the Dive HM and we have to use it ASAP to reach Archie, who is at the bottom of the ocean, about to resurrect Kyogre. Even though we make it there before him, he still challenges us, or at least tries to. Much like Maxi, his team is not a problem anymore because Thunderbolt is here to obliterate anything that he throws out. Unfortunately, even though we wiped the floor with his team, we still have to deal with the legendary plot. So why don't you scroll down a little and leave a like, subscribe, ring the bell, and leave a comment with your prediction of how the rest of the game is going to go. In the meantime, I'm going to save the Pokemon world. By the way, does it have a name? We know the name of the regions, but I don't think there is a name for the planet. Anyway, let's get back to the game. So, yeah, Juan, water types, Thunderbolt, end of the fight. There is not much to say about him. If you have a Pokemon that knows pretty much any electric or even grass moves, the only thing that are sort of a problem are Whiscash or Kingdra, but unless you are using a really weak Pokemon, they should not bother you too much. This time I even have a Feint Attack to ignore Kingdra's evasion boost, so there was little hope for Juan to win this fight. Now that we have acquired all of the badges in the region, we can make our way to the Victory Road, where we meet Wally. Today his team is kinda scary. I'm not sure how many of them I am going to be able to one-shot, so things could get bad if he lands a status effect. Turns out I underestimated the Shuppet. Thanks to the fast growth rate, it has reached a very high level, so the stats are looking pretty good, and I almost swept his entire team. Magneton is still a problem and almost ends the attempt with confusion, but once we are through that wall, the rest is smooth sailing. I did not level up too much for the league. The only thing to note is that I finally used the Calm Mind TM. I was right in thinking that I would not need it until here, but now it's a different story. Sidney is very dangerous and I don't have a good spot to set up in. I tried to use Calm Mind against Cacturn, but got slowed and seeded for it. I thought the attempt was over, but somehow the rest of the team took pity on me and let themselves be knocked out by a Thunderbolt. To be fair, I don't really know how many dark type moves his team has. Other than Mightyana's Crunch, there might not be any. I'll have to check, but knowing Pokemon, that would not surprise me too much. Okay, just checked. The only other damaging dark move is Cacturn's Feint Attack. Time to take on the second Elite Four. Phoebe is also scary, since we are weak to Ghost, and I am sure she has a little more than 2 Ghost attacks in her team. Yeah, just checked, every one of her Pokemons has a Shadow Ball except the lead. Fortunately, I also know that move, so I can sweep through her team. I could also have switched to Thunderbolt for Sableye, since I sneaked in a Calm Mind at the start of the fight. Next is Glacia. She is the easiest, but I lost once to her. Sort of forgot to set up against her lead, so things did not go well for me. In the second attempt, I used a couple of Calm Minds against the Celio, and from there I spammed Thunderbolt to my heart's content until all of her team was sent back to their Pokeballs. I'm not very proud of losing against what is supposed to be the easiest fight for Shuppet, but everybody makes mistakes, so it's useless to dwell on it. Unfortunately for me, the next fight is not going to be as easy. Drake is very dangerous. This time I don't have any ice moves, so I can't reliably one-shot his Pokemons. Instead, I have to spend some turns setting up Calm Mind, but I have to be careful when I do that, because if I get slowed by Shelgon's Rock Tomb, I will be outsped and defeated by the rest of his team. Apparently, 2 Calm Minds were not enough, and I have to risk a crit against Flygon to go for a third. This time I survive with like 10% HP, but as long as everything dies before hitting me, a single life point would be enough. Not sure if the speed up from the nature was needed, but I often choose that for this fight in particular, since I prefer to be safe than sorry. We finally arrived at Wallace, and here too I lost a few times. The problem is still the same. I die too fast, so I had to figure out a way to set up safely. Wailord is often exploitable. If you manage to lower his HP but not too much, he will still use Water Spout, but with low power, and since I am increasing my special defense too, I should be able to survive for a handful of turns. After getting to plus 4 or 5, kinda lost count, I am ready to sweep through the rest of his team using my electric move and switching to psychic when needed. Thankfully I had Calm Mind, otherwise this run would have been a lot more difficult to complete. I would have needed to get to 100 for sure, and maybe even change the moveset to something more RNG dependent. Anyway, with the last of his Pokémons defeated, we can finally incoronate Shuppet, the possessed doll, as the champion of the Hoenn region. It had some trouble in the late game, but for the most part, it was a somewhat unexpected, somewhat easy run. Thank you for watching. If you are still here, leave a like, subscribe, share, ring the bell, and let me know any feedback, video ideas, or general comments down below. See you next week. Bye!